The planet loomed before them, its surface cloaked in dark, swirling storms, as if the world itself was alive with the same energy that pulsed through the artifact. Alya stood at the center of the Stellar Dawn's bridge, her heart racing as they broke through the atmosphere. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating jagged mountains and barren plains below. "This place is unnatural," Mira whispered, her voice filled with awe and dread. "The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever's down there, it's ancient, far older than anything we've encountered before." Alya gripped the armrest of her chair as the ship shook with turbulence. "This is the source of it all, the structure. The artifact has been leading us here the whole time." Thane was focused on the tactical display, his eyes narrowing as he spoke. "Captain, I'm picking up multiple Vraath ships in low orbit. They've landed troops on the surface, and their flagship is anchored near the main structure." "Zale's already there," Alya muttered under her breath. "He's moving fast." Thane nodded grimly. "Looks like they've set up a perimeter around the structure. It's heavily fortified." Alya's mind raced. Zale was closing in on the ancient power buried beneath the planet's surface. If he managed to unlock it, the war would be over before they even had a chance to fight back. They couldn't afford to wait, and they couldn't allow Zale to succeed. "Prepare a landing party," Alya ordered, her voice hard. "We're going down there. I'll lead the team myself." Thane and Mira exchanged glances, their faces etched with concern, but neither of them argued. They both understood the gravity of the situation. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the final confrontation with Zale, and the fate of the galaxy rested on what happened next. As the stellar dawn descended through the stormy skies, Alya moved quickly to the armory, where her team was already gearing up. Thane, Mira, Kalen, and a group of elite soldiers were waiting, their faces set with determination. Alya strapped on her combat gear, the artifact resting against her chest like a second heartbeat, its pulsing energy in sync with her own. "The Vraath will throw everything they have at us," Alya said as she fastened her weapons. "But we're not here to fight them all. Our goal is the structure. Zale is inside, trying to unlock whatever power is hidden down there. We get in, we stop him, and we make sure the artifact doesn't fall into his hands." The team nodded, their expressions resolute. There was no room for fear or hesitation. This was the battle they had trained for, the moment that would determine the future of everything they had fought for. The landing shuttle rattled as it passed through the last layer of atmosphere, shaking violently as it hit the ground. Alya felt the impact of the landing reverberate through her bones, but she was already moving before the doors even opened. "Move out!" she shouted, and the team poured out of the shuttle, weapons raised, ready for anything. The surface of the planet was like something out of a nightmare. The sky above churned with black clouds, illuminated by the flicker of lightning. The ground was cracked and barren, covered in ash and dust, and the wind howled through the jagged rocks, carrying the scent of something ancient and decayed. Alya led her team across the desolate landscape, her heart pounding in her chest. The artifact pulsed against her, its energy growing stronger with every step. She could feel the pull of the structure ahead, like a beacon calling her forward. "Captain, Vraath patrols up ahead," Thane said, his voice low but steady. "They've set up a perimeter around the entrance." Alya raised a hand, signaling the team to slow down. She crouched behind a large rock, peering through the dust and storm at the massive structure rising out of the ground in the distance. It was even more imposing in person than it had been in her vision. Tall, dark, and pulsing with the same energy that filled the air. The Vraath had set up a defensive line around the entrance, heavily armed soldiers patrolling back and forth, their eyes scanning the area for intruders. Alya knew they couldn't afford to waste time in a full-scale fight. They had to get in, and they had to do it fast. "We'll go in quiet," Alya whispered to the team. "Take out the patrols silently, then move to the entrance. No unnecessary engagement. We don't want to tip Zale off that we're here." The team nodded, and they moved swiftly into action. One by one, they slipped through the shadows, taking down the Vraath soldiers with silent precision. The patrols didn't stand a chance. Within minutes, the perimeter was breached, and Alya's team was standing at the massive stone doors leading into the heart of the structure. Mira ran a quick scan on the entrance, her brow furrowed. The door's sealed, but I'm picking up a massive power signature inside. It's tied to the artifact and something else. Alya stepped forward, the artifact glowing faintly in her hand. She could feel the connection, the energy that tied the artifact to the structure, like a key fitting into a lock. "This is it," Alya said quietly. "We go in, we find Zale, and we end this." With a deep breath, Alya placed the artifact against the door. The stone hummed with energy, and the door slowly creaked open, revealing a dark, winding passageway leading deep into the ground. The air inside was heavy, thick with the weight of ancient power. Alya led the way, the team following close behind, their footsteps echoing in the narrow corridor. The deeper they went, the stronger the artifact's pull became. The walls were lined with strange symbols, glowing faintly with the same energy that pulsed through the artifact. It was like the structure itself was alive, guiding them toward its heart. As they descended, the passageway opened up into a massive chamber, and there, at the center of it all, stood Zale. The Vraath commander was standing before a massive obelisk of dark stone, glowing with the same eerie light as the artifact. His back was to them, his hands raised as he chanted in a language Alya didn't recognize. The air around him crackled with energy, and Alya could feel the power radiating from the obelisk. "Zale!" Alya shouted, her voice echoing through the chamber. Zale turned slowly, his eyes glowing with the same dark energy as the obelisk. He smiled, a twisted, cruel grin spreading across his face. "Ah, Captain Trent," Zale said, his voice cold and mocking. "I was wondering when you'd arrive. You're just in time to witness the birth of a new era." Alya's heart pounded in her chest. "You're too late, Zale. Whatever you're trying to unlock, I won't let you have it." Zale laughed, the sound filled with madness. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't just about power. This is about ascension, about becoming something more than human, more than Vraath. This is about becoming gods." Alya stepped forward, her weapon raised. "That's not going to happen." Zale's eyes gleamed with dark intent. "You can't stop it, Captain. The power within this structure is beyond anything you've ever known. It's been waiting for centuries, and now it's mine." Before Alya could react, Zale raised his hands, and the obelisk flared with energy. The ground beneath them trembled, and the air was filled with a deafening hum as the chamber shook violently. Alya struggled to keep her balance, her heart racing. She could feel the artifact in her hand, pulsing with intensity, reacting to the power of the obelisk. It was like the two were connected, bound together by the same ancient force. "We need to stop him," Mira shouted over the roar of the energy. "He's triggering something." Alya's mind raced. She had seen this power before, in her vision, in the connection between the artifact and the ancient forces that had created it. She had to act, and she had to act now. Without hesitation, Alya raised the artifact, focusing all of her energy on the connection between it and the obelisk. The artifact flared to life, glowing with a blinding light as it clashed with the dark energy surrounding Zale. The room exploded with light and sound, and for a moment, everything went white. When Alya's vision cleared, she was on her knees, the chamber around her in ruins. The obelisk was shattered, pieces of dark stone scattered across the floor. The air was still thick with energy, but the overwhelming hum of power had faded. Zale lay sprawled on the ground, his body limp, his eyes wide with shock. The power he had sought had destroyed him. Alya struggled to her feet, her body trembling with exhaustion. The artifact in her hand was still glowing, but its pulse had returned to its steady rhythm. The connection to the obelisk was gone, severed. "It's over," Alya whispered, her voice hoarse. Thane, Mira, and the rest of the team gathered around her, their faces etched with relief and exhaustion. But Alya knew it wasn't truly over. Zale had been defeated, but the ancient power that had guided him, that had created the artifact and the obelisk, was still out there. The war wasn't over. The real threat had only just begun. The silence that followed the battle in the ancient chamber was deafening. Dust hung in the air, illuminated by the faint glow of the shattered obelisk. Alya stood at the center of it all, the artifact still pulsing softly in her hand. Zale was gone, his ambitions destroyed by the very power he sought to control. Yet, as Alya looked around, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. "Captain," Thane's voice broke through the stillness, drawing her attention. We've neutralized the remaining Vraath forces outside. The structure is secure. Alya nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. The artifact's pulse was steady, but beneath that calm beat there was something deeper, a tremor, a distant echo. She could feel it vibrating in her bones, a reminder that the true danger was still out there, lurking beyond the veil of what they could see. Mira approached cautiously, her face pale and weary. We stopped Zale, but I'm getting strange readings from deeper within the structure. There's more to this place than we realized. Alya looked toward the far end of the chamber, where another set of doors led deeper underground. The artifact pulsed, as if confirming what she already suspected. There's something else down there, Alya said quietly. Something we haven't uncovered yet. Mira's brow furrowed. Captain, we barely made it out of this battle. We should regroup, get back to the Stellar Dawn, and... Alya shook her head. No, whatever's down there, it's the reason we're here. The artifact has been leading us this whole time, and I need to know why. Mara hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. Thane, standing nearby, exchanged a glance with Alya, but didn't argue. They all knew she was right. The artifact had chosen Alya, and it had brought them here for a reason. Leaving now with so many unanswered questions wasn't an option. Alya motioned for the team to follow her. We're going in. Stay alert. They moved deeper into the structure, following the winding corridors as the energy in the air grew thicker, more oppressive. The walls were lined with more of the glowing symbols they had seen before, but now the symbols pulsed in time with the artifact. The deeper they went, the stronger the connection became, until it felt as if the structure itself was alive, breathing with the same energy that radiated from the artifact. Finally, they reached the end of the corridor, where another set of massive stone doors loomed before them. The air was still, heavy with anticipation. This is it, Alya whispered, stepping forward. She placed the artifact against the door, and with a low rumble, the stone began to shift, grinding open to reveal a vast circular chamber. The room was unlike anything they had seen before, massive, impossibly old, and filled with a light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. At the center of the chamber, suspended in the air, was a massive crystalline structure, glowing with the same energy as the artifact. But this crystal was different, larger, more powerful, and surrounded by thousands of smaller artifacts, each one pulsing with energy. Alya's heart pounded in her chest as she stepped into the chamber, her eyes locked on the crystal. This was the source, the heart of everything. The Ascension, Mira breathed, her voice filled with awe. Alya moved closer, her hand tightening around the artifact. The whispers in her mind had grown louder, clearer, as if the ancient forces behind the artifact were speaking directly to her now. This was what they had been guiding her toward. This moment. This power. What is this place? Thane asked, his voice barely audible. Alya shook her head. I don't know, but this is what Zale was after. This is the key to everything. As Alya reached the center of the chamber, the crystal flared with light, and the artifact in her hand pulsed in response. The connection between the two was undeniable, and Alya could feel the power radiating from the crystalline, filling the room with a sense of both wonder and dread. Suddenly, the whispers in her mind became a single voice, clear, commanding, ancient. The time has come. Alya froze, her breath catching in her throat. The voice wasn't just in her mind, it was everywhere, resonating through the chamber, through the structure, through the very air around them. You are the chosen. The voice grew louder, stronger, as the crystal's light intensified. Alya felt the artifact in her hand grow warm, its energy merging with the power of the crystal, and for a brief moment, she felt everything. The weight of the ancient civilization that had created these artifacts, the countless generations that had come before, the knowledge of 1,000 lifetimes. The crystal was a gateway, a conduit to a higher form of existence. It wasn't just power, it was ascension. A way to transcend the limitations of mortality and become something more. But at what cost? Alya could feel the temptation of it, the allure of unlocking the full potential of the artifact and the crystal. She could become more than human, more than anything the galaxy had ever known. She could end the war, bring peace to the galaxy, reshape the future. But she could also feel the danger. The ancient forces that had created this power, the terrible consequences of wielding it without understanding it fully, the risk of losing herself, of becoming something unrecognizable, something monstrous. "Captain," Mira said, her voice filled with concern, "you don't have to do this. Whatever this is, it's too dangerous." Alya's hand trembled as she held the artifact, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She had been chosen, but she still had a choice. She could take the power, ascend, and risk losing everything. Or she could walk away, leave the crystal untouched, and keep the galaxy safe from the unknown dangers of ascension. But deep down, Alya knew she couldn't turn back. The artifact had brought her here for a reason. She had been chosen for this moment, to make this choice, to face this power. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and raised the artifact toward the crystal. The chamber exploded with light. Alya's mind was flooded with visions, worlds beyond comprehension, galaxies teeming with life, civilizations rising and falling, all connected by the same ancient power that now coursed through her. She saw the creators of the artifacts, an ancient race long forgotten, who had once wielded this power but had been destroyed by it, consumed by their own ambition. She saw Xael, his madness driving him to seek this same power, only to be crushed beneath its weight. And she saw herself, standing at the edge of something vast and unknowable, holding the fate of the galaxy in her hands. The power surged through her, threatening to overwhelm her, but Alya held on. She focused on the one thing that had guided her through all of this, her purpose. She wasn't here to become a god. She was here to protect the galaxy, to keep this power from falling into the wrong hands. With a surge of will, Alya pushed the energy back, refusing to let it consume her. The light flared one last time, and then, with a deafening silence, it disappeared. Alya collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The crystal had gone dark, its energy sealed away. The artifact in her hand was still warm, but its glow had dimmed, its connection to the crystal severed. Mira and Thane rushed to her side, their faces filled with concern. "Captain, are you all right?" Alya nodded weakly, her body trembling from the effort. "I'm fine. It's over." They helped her to her feet, and as she looked around the chamber, she realized that the danger had passed. The crystal's power had been sealed, the ascension stopped, but Alya knew the cost. The temptation of that power, the terrible knowledge of what it could do, it would always be with her. The artifact had chosen her, and she had walked the path, but she had refused to let it change her. "We need to get out of here," Alya said, her voice hoarse. "The galaxy isn't safe yet." Back aboard the Stellar Dawn, Alya stood on the bridge, watching as the planet slowly disappeared into the distance. The battle was over, the Vraath fleet shattered, and Xael defeated. But the war wasn't finished. There were still enemies out there, still threats lurking in the shadows. The artifact was quiet now, its pulse barely noticeable, but Alya could feel its presence still lingering. It had chosen her, and though the ascension had been stopped, the journey was far from over. As the stars stretched out before her, Alya knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy still needed her, and the ancient power she had faced would not stay buried forever. But she was ready.